So today we're diving into a story that really highlights how, ingenuity and compassion can come together in the most unexpected ways.
Yeah.
We're talking about a WhatsApp chatbot. It was created to help people displaced by the recent conflict in Lebanon.
Really highlights how, desperate times can lead to really outside-the-box solutions.
That's right. And Lebanon was already dealing with a pretty severe economic crisis.
Oh, absolutely a
Yeah.
crippling economic crisis. And then,
And then this conflict erupts between Israel and Hezbollah.
right,
So you're talking about families forced to flee their homes,
absolutely.
seeking refuge in a system that is really strained to the breaking point.
Yeah.
It's a humanitarian crisis layered on top of an economic crisis.
A crisis on top of a crisis.
Exactly. And I think what's so fascinating about this story is that amidst all of this chaos,
Right.
you see these incredible acts of resourcefulness.
Yeah.
So that's what we're going to be exploring today, this Aidbot of Lebanon and how it's really making a difference.
It's a fascinating story.
It is. Let's start by kind of putting a human face to this crisis.
Okay.
We have Khaldun Abbas. He's 47 years old, displaced from his home in Najeri.
Right.
And he, along with his family and his brother's family, so 17 people total,
Wow.
are all squeezed into this tiny rented apartment in Sidon.
Oh, my goodness.
And, they lost everything.
That's heartbreaking.
It is. And now imagine trying to navigate the aid system in a country that's already struggling.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just a logistical nightmare.
Absolutely. And that's exactly where this Aidbot comes in.
Yeah.
For Khaldun, it was a true lifeline.
Right.
He was able to use it to request those essentials, mattresses, blankets, food, even cleaning supplies.
Wow.
And, it seems like such a simple system,
Yeah.
but the impact is really quite profound.
It is. So let's talk about the brainchild behind this Aidbot.
Right.
We have Hania Zatari. She's a mechanical engineer.
Mechanical engineering.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. And she works for Lebanon's Ministry of Industry.
Wow.
And she saw the need, she saw the potential of technology, and she created this solution.
That's incredible. And what's so striking to me is that she didn't wait for someone else to come in and fix the problem.
Right.
She took the initiative and she used the tools that were readily available to her.
Right.
Specifically WhatsApp and Google Sheets.
Yeah.
This isn't some fancy Silicon Valley startup.
Mm-hmm.
This is truly a homegrown solution born out of necessity.
Yeah.
And a real deep sense of urgency.
Absolutely. So let's kind of unpack how this Aidbot actually works.
Okay.
Walk us through that process a little bit.
Sure. So it's actually brilliantly simple.
Okay.
People in need, they reach out through WhatsApp, which is an app that pretty much everyone in Lebanon uses.
Right.
And the chatbot asks them a series of questions.
Yeah.
Their needs, their location, the size of their family.
Right.
And all of that information is then automatically logged into a Google Sheet.
So no complicated apps to download.
Yeah. No confusing websites to navigate.
Nope.
Just simple text-based communication,
Yeah.
direct and easy to use.
Exactly.
But then what happens to that data in the Google Sheet? How does it translate into actual aid on the ground?
That's where Henia's team of volunteers comes in.
Okay.
They monitor the sheet.
Yeah.
They prioritize requests, and then they coordinate the delivery of the aid.
And they're relying heavily on donations from the Lebanese diaspora, which is fascinating in itself.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
It really speaks to that sense of shared responsibility.
Right.
This community coming together to support its own, even though they're, scattered across the globe.
Right, and it's all facilitated through this really simple technology.
It really is.
But I'm curious, relying solely on diaspora funding,
Yeah.
doesn't that seem a little risky?
Well, it does make the Aidbot very susceptible to fluctuations in political support or economic downturns.
Right.
What happens if those, if the political climate shifts? Right. Or if there's another economic crisis somewhere else in the world.
Exactly, and that really raises questions about long-term sustainability.
Yeah, that's a good point. So far, Hania and her volunteers have distributed 78 food parcels, 900 mattresses, 323 blankets across Sidon and other areas.
Wow, that's impressive.
Those are pretty impressive numbers, but how are they managing this logistically? I mean, we're talking about a country in turmoil.
It's definitely a constant struggle.
Yeah.
One volunteer, Bilal Marie, described it as a situation of high demand, short supply.
Right.
Imagine trying to coordinate these aid deliveries while you're navigating roadblocks, fuel shortages, and the constant threat of violence. It's incredibly challenging.
It is. And remember, all of this is happening against the backdrop of Lebanon's ongoing economic crisis.
Oh, absolutely.
It's a situation where even well-established NGOs are facing funding gaps.
Yeah. Take, for example, Islamic Relief and UNICEF Lebanon.
Right.
They're doing such incredible work.
Yeah.
But even they are struggling to meet the needs. Yeah. The economic crisis has really crippled the government's ability to provide aid.
Yeah.
Which has left this huge void that organizations like Hania's are desperately trying to fill.
So you have this incredible grassroots solution in the Aidbot.
Yeah.
But it's operating within an incredibly complex and challenging context.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And this is where the ingenuity of the Aidbot really shines through.
Okay.
By kind of circumventing those traditional aid structures.
Right.
It can reach people much more directly and efficiently.
Yeah, but I'm curious, are there any potential downsides to working outside of those established systems?
Well, for one, there's always that question of accountability.
Right.
Traditional aid organizations have those mechanisms in place for monitoring and evaluating their programs.
Right.
Ensuring transparency, making sure resources are being allocated responsibly.
Right.
With a more informal system like the Aidbot, those mechanisms might not be there.
That's true.
And that can raise concerns about oversight.
Yeah, it's interesting, right? You want to get aid to people quickly.
Right.
But you also want to make sure that it's done responsibly.
Exactly. It's about striking that balance between agility and accountability.
Yeah.
And then, of course, there's that question of sustainability.
Right.
Can a system like this that relies so heavily on volunteers and diaspora funding, can it really address those long-term needs?
Right, because those needs are going to be there for a while.
Exactly. And that's what makes it such a double-edged sword.
Right.
The Aidbot's strengths, that agility, that directness, they can also be potential weaknesses in the long run.
Yeah, I see what you mean.
But let's not forget, in a crisis like this, immediate action is paramount.
Right.
And there's no doubt that the Aidbot is making a difference in the lives of countless people right now.
Absolutely. And it speaks to the power of innovation and that human determination to help each other, even in the face of these incredible challenges.
Absolutely. Yeah. And it also highlights how important it is to understand the local context.
Right.
The Aidbot is successful because it's built on these existing social structures and communication channels.
Yeah.
It's leveraging a platform that people are already really comfortable with.
Right. And it's not about coming in and imposing a solution from the outside.
No.
It's about finding ways to empower communities to help themselves.
Exactly.
So this brings us to John Bryant. He's a researcher at the Overseas Development Institute.
Okay.
And he's been studying the Aidbot model.
Interesting.
And he was really struck by its cultural relevance.
Yeah.
What were some of your takeaways from his insights?
Well, what I found fascinating was his emphasis on the importance of those, those trusted human interlocutors.
Yeah.
It's not just about the technology. It's about the people behind it. Those who can bridge that gap between the digital and the human.
So even with a tech-driven solution like this, that human element remains crucial.
It really does.
And Brian argued that while the technology itself is replicable, the success of this model really hinges on two key factors.
Okay.
Adapting it to specific cultural contexts.
Right.
And having those trusted individuals on the ground who can really build relationships and navigate those local nuances.
Exactly. And in a different cultural context, WhatsApp might not be the dominant messaging platform.
Right.
Or the community might rely much more heavily on established social hierarchies.
So it's not a one-size-fits-all solution.
Definitely not.
You can't just pick this up and plop it down in another crisis zone and expect it to work the same way.
Exactly. And that's where, the expertise of people like Don Bryant comes in.
Right.
He can really help analyze those social and cultural dynamics of a particular situation.
Right. Yeah.
And advise on how to adapt that model accordingly.
So it's all about finding that sweet spot between technological innovation and human understanding.
Exactly. And that's what makes this story so compelling.
Yeah.
It's not just about a chatbot.
No.
It's about human ingenuity,
resilience,
the power of community.
It's a really powerful reminder that even in the darkest of times,
Yeah.
there are those glimmers of hope.
Absolutely.
And they often emerge from those unexpected places.
And it begs the question,
Yeah.
what other innovative solutions are out there?
Yeah.
Just waiting to be discovered
Right.
and harnessed to address these really pressing challenges.
Yeah. Yeah, it really makes you think, right? We talk a lot about the need for like disruptive technology.
Right.
But sometimes the solutions that have the biggest impact are the ones that just leverage what's already there.
Yeah, kind of like what Hania did with WhatsApp.
Exactly.
It's a great point.
Yeah.
The Aidbot is disruptive in its own way,
Yeah.
but not because it's using this like cutting edge tech.
Right.
It disrupts things because it challenges that whole traditional model of aid distribution.
Right. And in doing so, it kind of reveals this really crucial element, right?
Yeah.
The importance of understanding the local context
Yeah.
and building trust within communities.
Exactly. It's not enough to just have, a good idea or even a good piece of technology.
Right.
You
Yeah.
you need to know how to implement it
Yeah.
effectively.
Yeah.
And that requires that cultural sensitivity,
Yeah.
that willingness to collaborate with
Right.
the people that you're trying to help.
So this seemingly simple chatbot
Right.
becomes this catalyst for this much deeper conversation
Yeah.
about how we approach aid and development work.
It really forces us to ask those tough questions.
Yeah.
Are we really empowering these communities? Are we
Right.
actually listening to their needs? Are we
Yeah.
respecting their agency?
And are we building solutions that are both sustainable and culturally relevant?
Exactly. Those are the key questions.
Yeah. And these are questions that go way beyond just the immediate crisis in Lebanon.
Oh, absolutely.
These are questions that we should be asking ourselves
Yeah.
in any context where we're trying to make a positive impact.
And that's what I find so inspiring about this whole story.
Yeah.
It's that reminder that even when things seem incredibly challenging,
Yeah.
there's always room for innovation,
Yeah.
for compassion,
Mm-hmm.
for human connection.
Yeah. And it's a reminder that sometimes those most powerful solutions
Right.
are the ones that are right there in front of us,
Yeah.
just waiting to be discovered and activated.
Absolutely.
So even in the midst of this devastating conflict,
Yeah.
this economic crisis,
Right.
we have this simple chatbot
Yeah.
fueled by human ingenuity and compassion.
Yeah.
And it's making a real difference
It really is.
in the lives of these displaced families.
It's a story that just sparks the imagination.
It does.
It makes you think about all the possibilities.
Yeah, what other seemingly simple tech solutions are out there?
Yeah.
What else could we be harnessing
Right.
to address these complex humanitarian challenges?
Exactly.
It's something for all of us to think about.
It is.
And who knows, maybe it'll inspire some of you listening to create the next Aidbot.
I hope so.
That's it for a deep dive today. Be sure to check out our show notes for more information, and we'll see you next time.
Stay ahead, stay informed, stay relevant.